Police say this is the worst one-day massacre in the history of the U.S. The McDonald's restaurant in San Ysidro, a suburb of San Diego, is now a temporary morgue. Coroner's officials are trying to identify the 20 confirmed dead. The gunman has been identified as 41-year-old James Huberty of San Ysidro, an unemployed security guard. Police say his wife was brought to the scene to try to talk him out of the building, but was unsuccessful. A SWAT sharpshooter then fired a single shot, killing the gunman. Witnesses say the scene inside the McDonald's was grisly. 2 teenagers dead at their booth, killed as they ate. An elderly woman slumped in her chair. A family strewn on the floor, and still no apparent reason as to why. Maria Martinez, San Diego.
We're number 1 in violence. It seems ready to break out at any moment in any place in America.
He entered the facility heavily armed, immediately started shooting everybody. And the customers that were inside the restaurant had absolutely no chance to escape.
These images are more of war than of a small fast food restaurant in San Ysidro. Yet it was a local man dressed in battle fatigues who declared, "I've killed 1,000, I'm gonna kill 1,000 more." 41-year-old James Huberty reportedly walked into the restaurant carrying a semi-automatic rifle and 2 other weapons, enough ammunition to last 2 hours. Witnesses inside said he fired wildly into the unsuspecting crowd gathered for a quick evening meal. He fired through windows, hitting people in the street. He fired at men, women, children, and babies. One officer said it looked like a mass execution.
40 bystanders were shot. 21 died in the biggest mass murder in American history. What kind of man can walk into a crowded restaurant and try to kill everyone in sight?
I think everybody thinks this couldn't happen to them. It's like something you would see on TV that's far away from you, totally removed. But it happened, and it involves me. And like I said, a lot of people think, hey, it couldn't happen to me. I disagree. I think it could.
Violence is as American as apple pie.
We are a violent nation. Each year, there are 1.25 million acts of violence. That means each of us runs a 1 in 200 chance of being the victim of a violent crime this year. 20,000 times a year, that crime is murder, which happens here in America more often than anywhere else, except the killing fields of the Third World. The most dramatic acts of violence, mass murder, assassination, multiple murder, have become commonplace. Why? This program examines 3 people who have committed such crimes. Mass murderer James Huberty.
Like a McDonald's restaurant.
The peculiarly American reaction of frustration and anger led to an outburst of violence of major proportions in San Diego, July 18, 1984. 21 people died in what became the biggest mass murder in American history. The victims were men, women, and children from 8 months to 74 years of age. That day was a Wednesday, a pleasant Southern California day. At 4 o'clock, McDonald's was crowded with 50 people taking an afternoon break when an armed man walked in and began shooting. San Diego Police Lieutenant Paul Liberando.
When he entered the building, he had 3 weapons with him. 2 shoulder weapons and a 9mm semi-automatic pistol. I have him here.
What did he do?
He came in, he had this weapon, which is an Uzi semi-automatic carbine, in his hand. He also had a 9mm semi-automatic pistol. It's a Browning. And he had a Winchester pump-action 12-gauge shotgun with him. When he came in, after ordering the people to get down on the floor, he started firing the weapons. We've determined that the Uzi was his primary weapon. He did most of the firing with that.
After a while, he started playing the radio, and he was just shooting around at anything. Me and 3 girls and 2 other friends of mine were back there. You couldn't really tell what he was shooting at because I was in the back. I work in the back. And then everybody just went to the floor. I was back there for quite a long time. after 40 minutes or so, that's when he went back there, and that's when he started shooting at us. And I just started trying to run and stuff. And I couldn't, and I got shot. I went down to the basement after I was shot, and I was hiding in the closet until it was over.
He never came downstairs?
No.
For an hour and 17 minutes, a killer controlled McDonald's and kept 175 police pinned down outside.
They didn't have a target. They were totally pinned down. Any movement towards the building may have caused him to indiscriminately shoot and kill other people within the building. It was a sort of a no-win situation at that time.
At last, at 5:17 p.m., the police SWAT team got its chance. One officer drew fire at this window. Another on the post office roof fired one shot from his sniper rifle, and the killer went down, shot through the heart. Officer Miguel Rosario went in with the SWAT team.
First thing I saw was a lady laying in front of the counter with a 6-month-old baby laying in her lap, and I assume it was a husband laying right next to her, and you could tell it was a family, and they had been shot numerous times, and that was horrible. It was just people who were eating and obviously had been shot. Some looked like they didn't know what happened. No time to react. They were hit by surprise. Some people were still clutching hamburgers, some people still clutching trays. Some people had patched up their wounds with napkins.
Of the 40 people shot, 19 survived. One was high school student Albert Leos.
How many times were you shot?
4.
What are you angriest about?
Well, I just wish I wouldn't have been there at the time. That's but there was nothing we could do about it, because it could have happened anywhere.
11-year-old Josh Coleman was coming up the driveway with 2 friends.
As you were going toward McDonald's, did you have any idea something was happening there?
No.
Did anyone yell at you or something?
Yeah, from across the street, a man yelled at us.
What'd you think?
I didn't understand what he was saying.
Yeah. Where were you hit?
All on my arm, and on my back, and right here.
When did you realize that your friends were dead?
My mom told me in the hospital.
What happened to your friends?
They died.
All 5?
No, 3 of them. 3 girls.
When nobody came to help you, what did you think about doing next?
Just laying there and wait.
And most people talked about trying to play dead so he wouldn't know that they were still alive and shoot at him.
Did you think of that by yourself?
Mm-hmm.
How come?
I don't know.
It's pretty smart. What do you think?
Another young lady who was with a group of 5 people was wounded. All the other people in her party were actually killed. She said that she made the mistake of opening her eyes and looking directly at the suspect. He realized she was alive. He threw food at her, swore at her, and then sprayed her and the rest of her party again with bullets. And at that point, she was wounded a second time, and she really did play dead. At that point, she didn't open her eyes again until the officers arrived.
What kind of man could carry out such violence? The dead killer was identified as 41-year-old James Oliver Huberty. He was a college graduate, a skilled worker, and a property owner who had recently moved to the neighborhood. The Huberty apartment was just half a block from McDonald's and in full view of it. Jim Huberty, his wife Etna, and their daughters, Zelia and Cassandra, were from Ohio. They had owned a small apartment house, and Jim worked as a welder for Babcock and Wilcox. Plant closings cost Huberty his job, so in 1983 the family packed up and moved west. They were hoping to make a fresh start, but it wasn't going well. In December, they had settled in San Ysidro, a largely Hispanic section of San Diego near the Mexican border, which Jim didn't like. In early July, he lost his job as a security guard, but still the family was far from destitute. That day, July 18th, started well enough. It included a visit to the San Diego Zoo.
We'd had a very good time that day. And we went to McDonald's, had chicken McNuggets, French fries, some Cokes. And we went to the zoo. And we came home, and he went upstairs, and I was downstairs putting away the dishes. Zelia had come downstairs and told me he was messing around with some ammunition. But, I mean, that's nothing unusual. I got things cleared up in the kitchen, went upstairs. I was hot, tired. The bedroom door was closed, so I just went into the other bedroom and stretched out on the bottom bunk.
What happened then?
While I was resting, he came to the doorway, and he said he was going to kiss me goodbye. I said, okay. And he started to walk away, and I just motioned for him to come back. He said, what? I said, well, I'll kiss you goodbye. He did. And he made reference to he was going hunting. He said, I'm going to hunt humans. And I didn't pay attention to him. Well, I felt, you know, he used to do things to get me excited. And figure he can make me cry or get me upset. And I just decided he wasn't going to. And he just pointed thumbs up and took off. So I was going to get some ground beef because it was on sale at Safeway, and I had to pick up the mail and a lot of different errands to do. So I just got dressed and told Zoe to come on, and we went. And when I came back, the highway was blocked off.
My sister is still babysitting, so we had to come back to get her. And as we walked by, you could hear the gunshots. It's really, people were screaming and really bad. So I saw the little Flores boy. He was flopped over his bicycle, bloody. And then there were other people out, and
there were two others just laying down on the sidewalk shot. And then you could see into the patio.
How did you feel right then?
Stunned. Confused. It seemed like a TV show, you know, where you go to sleep on the sofa and you wake up. Yeah, it seemed like I should wake up. But this was just something on the television.
Police had been alerted to Huberty many times over the years. And just the day before the murders, Huberty himself made a call to a local mental health clinic seeking help. But he didn't sound upset enough to get immediate attention.
Jim called the health clinic here.
Yes. But there was a language problem, and they wrote the name down as Huberty instead of Huberty. And they figured since he was so calm, cool, and collected that there wasn't any problem.
Mr. Huberty called the clinic and was asked a series of 5 questions, which are typical screening questions, and answered all those questions in the negative and did not want to speak about his problem, and was told that he would be called back for an appointment within a day or two. And that was the nature of the telephone conversation, which happened, of course, the day before the event. He's described as polite and rational on the phone with no indication at all of any crisis or undergoing any serious mental illness.
Maybe a lot of people could be calm, cool, and collected, and there wouldn't be a problem. But I think the mental health clinic should consider if a person takes the time to call a mental health clinic, they definitely have a problem. I mean, most people, there's a stigma connected to calling for mental help. That's a last-ditch effort when you call a mental health clinic. And he had made this call.
Did anyone ever suggest psychiatric help?
I had told the doctor, our family doctor, about it, and he had given me a prescription for Valium. I mean, you know, he got uptight, give him a Valium, put him to bed. If he had to go to work, give him a half a Valium so he didn't go to sleep.
Did that work?
Always.
Was he still taking Valium here?
I had no access to it here.
No prescription?
No.
He could have said that he had been taking Valium and had no Valium, and that would that have been grounds for him to be seen immediately?
Definitely. Anytime we have patients who've run out of a prescription medicine and their symptoms have returned and are a major focus in the disorder, there would definitely be reasons to, and we get those calls all the time.
Is help readily available in this country to people who are violent?
It's supposed to be. The reason that there's insufficient help to offer is that little has been done to make the suppression of violence profitable. Violence is profitable, but the treatment of violence isn't. There are many problems dealing with violent patients. One is that they're frightening. Sometimes they threaten or strike out at or even shoot those who are trying to help them.
They might not have been able to talk him out of it. I don't think anybody could talk him out of it. But they could have doped him up.
Do you think he wanted that?
Yes, I think he didn't want to do it.
It's not unusual for an individual who's had a long history of disordered behavior who, when it gets to the point that an actual plan has been developed in the mind, to make one last, in a sense, perfunctory call for help.
The call for help isn't always to a mental health clinic. Often it's to someplace less appropriate. Sometimes it's more a cry than a call, namely a statement to friends or neighbors about what one plans to do. That's very common.
It's a cry that's doomed to failure, though.
It is for the moment. 10 years ago, people didn't recognize that when someone begins to talk about suicide and make offhand comments about suicide, that that's to be taken seriously. And soon, people will realize that that's true when people talk about homicide and make offhand comments about killing others. Those are to be taken just as seriously as talk about suicide.
Which of us will strike out against our families, neighbors, strangers, or politicians? That no one can tell in advance. And no one in our country seriously thinks that anyone who is different, who excites suspicion from neighbors or even the police, should be detained or treated against his will. But then, neither should that person be ignored. It's a question of connecting effectively with whatever help exists.